Detroit Lions fans, you know what time it is. My 2023 expectations for this offense. What does Ben Johnson have cooking up? What is Jared Goff going to do? Hendon Hooker breathing down his back, even though it's looking like a red shirt rookie season for Hendon Hooker. But we're going to talk about all of that in today's video. And before I get straight into it, I'm really looking into making this a series because I've studied just about every team in the NFL. So I want to know in the comments, whether you're a Lions fan or not, what other teams would you want to know my expectations for while we prepare for this season? So I just want to know that. Now we can get straight into the video. Jared Goff at quarterback. That's what we're starting off with. Threw for over 4,000 yards last season. Coming out in week 1, they're going against Kansas City. And I've talked about it yesterday about why we want to prove that we're supposed to be here. We got this Thursday night football game. It's all about us. It's not about Kansas City. We're making a statement. And I think you got a lot of weapons to do this. Now, as I was preparing for this video today, looking around Detroit Lions things, I'm getting a sense, and I'm hearing some things that a lot of people are worried that the Detroit Lions didn't attack receiver heavy enough in the offseason. They just not sure that this can be another top 5 offensive season. Well, I think this video right here can make you kind of comfortable in what you feel about your team in that offense, because I think there's a lot to work with. And I'm going to start with number 1, Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson is the guy that runs this thing, and he has weapons. It's a myth going around that his team is in a lack of weapons, but it's not. And the key thing with this 6-game suspension with Jameson Williams, we're going to have to lean very heavily on our rookie Jahmyr Gibbs. David Montgomery as well. Those two guys are kind of big to me because I think we're going to have a little more condensed offense. And when I say condensed, I'm not talking about we're getting rid of our exotic play calls. We're getting rid of our formations, running less sets. I'm saying condensed in the fact that I think it's going to be a slower paced offense. We're going to get it out the mud. It's going to be a lot of running, especially because we don't have Jameson Williams over the top of that defense, but we're just gonna kind of feed the ball to those guys. And I'm talking about 2 tight end sets, and I think Jahmyr Gibbs is the type of guy, seeing it with Bijan Robinson, these elite backs in the draft, you can split them out at that slot position. And I think Ben Johnson will explore that option. Amon-Ra St. Brown gonna get another 1,000 yards. We gotta know that. Josh Reynolds contributed to this receiving core last year, and Marvin Jones is kind of the wild card. Now I'm gonna talk about Marvin Jones. I think he's one of the bigger targets on this team, but at this point in his career, he's on the back half of his career. He's not in his prime anymore, but he wasn't brought in to do that. We got to understand that. And I think he can give you a game. Now, we talk about Jameson Williams being out those first 6 games. All we need is Marvin Jones to give us 1 or 2 of those games. Josh Reynolds is going to be pretty solid. Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to handle the receiving core. Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, he can catch the ball out of the backfield as well. So when I talk about my weapons on the perimeter, and I haven't even gotten to the tight ends yet, we can see all of the possibilities. And I was thinking, as I was thinking about Jahmyr Gibbs, Montgomery, getting into my next position to bring up, Sam Laporta and Brock Wright will be key to this team. When I just talked about those 2 tight end sets and how we want to use these guys, we want to create mismatches. And Jahmyr Gibbs is that walking mismatch. Now, we think of the teams that run these 2 tight end sets: Dallas Cowboys, San Francisco 49ers. They want to get Tony Pollard. They want to get Christian McCaffrey. You're starting to see where I'm going with this. They want to get those guys in mismatches, but we're running these 2 tight end sets, so you can't take your linebackers off of the football field. That is what we want to do with this team. We can run tackle over, bringing in a backup tackle, adding him into the lineup. We still have that. We can run so many formations with bigger bodies in there, but we still got a Gibbs. We still got a Montgomery who can catch the ball. We have a lot of versatility, a lot of mismatches, and you have to think, when Jameson Williams gets back, I haven't even talked about Khalif Raymond yet. We got to think, and I'm going to pull up the stats as well because I was looking at this. These are the 2022 stats. Khalif Raymond right here with the receivers, 616 yards last season. And we know what he is, not the biggest guy, but he's a burner. Can return the ball for us. Do we want to have somebody else returning kicks? If we're going to add him as a very key contributor, can't have him getting hurt on those kickoff returns, punt returns. But looking at that and going back to this depth chart, you start to feel a little more comfortable when you see all the versatility we have. You see all the endless options we have. We're not lacking of talent anywhere. And we know the offensive line. Do I have to really talk about the offensive line for a long stretch of time? Now, key thing I want to talk about with the offensive line, Vaitai. This was a guy who could have been cut. And you brought in Graham Glasgow, brought him back to the team. I just want to see, is he fully healthy? Now, I'm thinking that I'm getting the vibe he is healthy. He is coming back to having a good season for the Detroit Lions. This is a guy who got paid, but he got hurt. And he's not a bad football player. But you think about it, a fully healthy Vaitai, alongside Penei Sewell, alongside a Taylor Decker, Jonah Jackson, Frank Ragnow. Now we're talking about a top 3 offensive line in football to pair with all of these weapons that I aforementioned. And I feel really good about this. And Jared Goff, I'm not worried about Jared Goff. A lot of people, I don't think people are necessarily worried about Jared Goff. I think it's the future. And telling me that you're worried about the future of Jared Goff, having to pay him, that's telling me he's a good quarterback. You wouldn't be worried about having to pay a guy north of $40 million if he wasn't a good quarterback. So it's kind of a good and a bad problem to have. Not to mention you got that guy sitting in the back end coming out of Tennessee. But we got to remember, Jared Goff can make every throw. He's been there before. He's been to a Super Bowl despite putting up 3 points in kind of an underwhelming performance. But he was a number 1 pick, and he has all the traits, he has all of the talent is what I'm saying. So there's no ceiling to this football team when we're talking about Jared Goff. How far can we go? And we think about the NFC, we got the Dallas Cowboys, we got the 49ers, the teams who we know were there last year, the Philadelphia Eagles. But I'm kind of getting the sense it's a window in that NFC. I'm getting the sense it's kind of open in that NFC. Somebody's going to sneak into it. Now, you still got to worry about your division a little bit. Talk about Chicago, Minnesota, Green Bay. Still got to get through that. But this offense will not be a problem. I mean, truthfully speaking, I think Ben Johnson is one of my top 5 coordinators in the game right now. Looking at what he draws up. And DeAndre Swift, his production, well, if not matched, it will be doubled by Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm one of the guys who likes DeAndre Swift. I think Detroit Lions fans were kind of underwhelmed that he just couldn't stay healthy as much as they wanted him to. He couldn't be on the field as much as they want him to. But I don't think a Detroit Lions fan will tell me that DeAndre Swift wasn't just a talented running back. And I think Jahmyr Gibbs, a more dependable version of that, who you can use a little bit more, and in turn you get more numbers. Now, Jahmyr Gibbs is a different breed. When I just talked about flexing him out in the slot, doing things of that nature. We have walk-in mismatches. Jahmyr Gibbs, Montgomery, they can share a football field. Not to mention Craig Reynolds. He was in that running back rotation last season. I saw him in there with Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift. So we're getting really comfortable, as I said, and because I'm seeing a lot of things about this offense. It's not enough. We're not sure about what we have. I'm very sure. And this is coming from me. You know, not a Detroit Lions diehard fan, is covering sports, being non-biased. I'm telling you this. This offense is very secure. Now, you lost DJ Chark. I think he was a good receiver. Really wish you could have kept him. You know, looking at his size, his ability to get down the field, get over the top of a defense. But man, and looking at Sam Laporta, that pick, that's telling me what you want to do with Jahmyr Gibbs, because Brock Wright's not going to sit the bench. He's too good of a tight end to sit the bench. And even James Mitchell, you still got some guys behind that, and all of these positions have depth. Now, the key thing is with the receiving core, how deep can you get? Is Antoine Green in that 6th round, is he going to be that guy who steps up and be a next level receiver? You know, Trinity Benson, these type of guys, Dylan Drummond, who you just got. Are those going to be guys who add depth to this room? Because we know injuries are a part of the game. And, I mean, with the tight end position, I see a lot of depth. With the offensive line, I see depth. I see Glasgow. I see Kobe Sorshall, who can move into a guard, who can play tackle in a stretch if you really, really need him to. Graham Glasgow, a guy who I think can also kick into that center position. Vaitai, a stud who just had to get healthy. I'm going to leave you with that thought, because that's how I feel about this offense. My expectations for them, another top 5 season. I'm trusting in Ben Johnson. I got to give it to him. A lot of these teams have great weapons, and some teams have better weapons than the Detroit Lions, but they can't put it together. They don't have Ben Johnson in that room. They don't have Dan Campbell in that room coaching those guys to play the hardest that they can. I trust these guys. I trust Ben Johnson. I trust Jared Goff. And now, we out.